Becca here, and I am bringing you another one of Michelle's patterns. This one is called Arrows. I've already completed my cowl, and I used the KB multi-knit loom 3/8 gauge set at 104 pegs. You could also use an all-in-one loom set at 104 pegs. This one is a pattern where you'll be using two colors. So for my main color, I used, this is a Loops and Threads Soft and Shiny. It is a medium 4-weight yarn. This one is color Citrus. And then for my contrasting color, same kind of yarn, soft and shiny. And this one is in color Aqua. Let's walk through the pattern. I've already covered off on the materials that you'll need and the yarn that I used. I cast it on 104 pegs with a simple no hook crochet cast on. There's written instructions as well as a legend and a chart. So for the legend, in our main color, we will have knits, pearls, yarn overs, SSKs, knit two together, and then on our contrasting colors we will have knits and pearls. Primarily for this pattern you will be using the chart. We will be starting off in our contrasting color, and we will be doing a couple rows of knits and pearls to start. Then we will be changing colors to our main color, and we will have a row of knits, but we will be using that knit row to prep for our rows of yarn overs and knit two togethers. And then we will do that throughout this whole section. So once we get further along in the pattern, we're going to be using our knit rows to also set up for our SSKs and yarn overs. Once we have that section completed, we will change back to our contrasting color, and we will just have some rows of knits. And then once the row of knits are completed, we will be switching to our main color and have another section. We will be using our knit rows to prep for our SSKs and yarn overs, as well as our yarn overs and knit two togethers. Once that section is completed, we will have another row or another section of knit rows with our contrasting colors. And then we will be switching back to our main colors, and again we will have rows of yarn overs and knit two togethers and SSKs and yarn overs. And then finally at the end we will be using our contrasting color and finish off with rows of knits and pearls before binding off. Let's get started. Today I'm just doing, like I said, a small little sample, and I am on row 10 of the pattern. So that is my knit row, and I'm going to be using that knit row to prep for my yarn overs and knit two togethers. So I am just going to start knitting. So for my first peg, I'm going to knit over, second peg, knit over, and then I am going to tug a little bit here and then move over the stitch from my first peg to my second peg, and that sets up for my knit two together. And then really I'm just going to keep following that same pattern for the rest of my row. I'm going to keep knitting and moving. keep knitting and moving. Oops. I'm coming to the end of my row here. All right, and when I get done with that row, I should have an empty peg followed by 2 stitches on one peg for the whole entire row. So then we are now on row 11. So for row 11, we are going to have yarn overs and some knit 2 togethers. So for this row, on our empty pegs, we're just going to lay the yarn loosely in front of the pegs. And then for the pegs that have 2 stitches, we are just going to knit both stitches over. And we're just gonna repeat those same 2 pegs here for the rest of this row. And if it's easier for you to knit both of those at the same time, go ahead and do that. For me, sometimes it tends to be easier to do one at a time. Oops. All right, almost to the end of my row here. Keep knitting, yarning over, or yarn over and knitting. All right, last peg. And now we are on row 12. So for this row, we are going to be prepping for row 13. So we're just going to start knitting. And then on this row, our second peg of the grouping is going to be our yarn over. So we're going to move that over to peg 1. And we're just going to keep repeating for the rest of this row. Knitting and then moving. All right. So then I'll just finish up this section and then move on to my contrasting colors, or color, and my row of knits. And then just continue on until I am at the end of my pattern and bind off. Happy looming!